Since 1912, Nestle has enriched Malaysian life with high-quality, halal-certified products aligning with their mission to enhance the quality of life for future and present generation. Originating as the Anglo-Swiss condensed milk company in Penang, they expanded to Kuala Lumpur in 1939. Post-independence in 1957, Nestle responded to growing demands with job opportunities and diversified product, establishing the culinary product division in the 1960s. Presently, Nestle Malaysia operates 6 factories, employ over 5,000 nationwide, and produce 500 plus halal certified products, including brands like Milo, Maggi, Nescafe, and KitKat into Malaysian household. Committed to quality, nutrition, and taste, Nestle Malaysia, a subsidiary of Société des Produits Nestlé, focuses on producing, marketing, and distributing and selling food products and non-alcoholic beverages in Malaysia.
FNN Holdings Berhad stands as respected and well-established Malaysian food and beverage company with a 138-year history. Listed on Bursa Malaysia's main board, FNN has earned a notable reputation for its halal premium product by generating RM 4 billion in annual sales. As a Sharia-compliant business, FNN operates globally, selling products in 82 countries with plans to expand further by focusing on halal market. The company's portfolio includes re-owned brands such as Carnation, FNN Season, Oishi, and more. Following the 2021 acquisition of Sri Nona, FNN Holdings Berhad expanded its product line to include rice cake and sauces under the Nona brand. Operating 9 production facilities in Thailand and Malaysia, FNN utilized advanced manufacturing technology and adhere to strict quality control measurements. The company embraced sustainable business practice with a state-of-the-art technology in its facility, aligning with FNN's commitment to environmental conservation.
Next is liquidity ratio. So we have two, which is current ratio and quick ratio. So for the current ratio, it is the total current asset divided by the total current liabilities. So based on the graph above, it displays the total current ratio for both Nestle and FNN for over the past 5 years. So we're going to start with Nestle. Current ratio began at 0.65 in 2019 and then decreased to 0.59 in 2020 and then remained steady in 2021. Then it increased to 0.71 in 2022 before declining to 0.67 in 2023. This figure illustrates an unhealthy current ratio for Nestle over the past 5 years. On the other hand, FNN current ratio began at 2.21 in 2019, grew to 2.45, and then increased to 2.69, and then decreased in 2022, which is 2.68, and then increased back to 2.85 in 2023. So this figure shows that FNN current ratio has been stable for over the previous 5 years. To sum up, FNN is in a stronger position in terms of liquidity than Nestle. This is the result of FNN's more consistent current ratio, which has only decreased once. In comparison to Nestle, FNN has higher current ratio. Also, FNN is better able than Nestle to pay off more of its short-term debt. And then Nestle has a very poor current ratio because it is less than 1, whereas a good current ratio is between 1.2 and 2 and above, and this is most likely the result of their having insufficient liquid asset to meet their current liabilities. Next is quick ratio. Quick ratio is a total current asset minus inventory minus prepaid expenses and then divided by total current liabilities. So as per the above graph, Nestle and FNN quick ratio is displayed. So Nestle quick ratio has shown a gradual decrease for the 4 years starting from 2019 to 2022. It began at 0.31 in 2019 and then fell 0.25, then dropped again 0.2 and then fell to 0.19 in 2022 and then increased to 0.26 in 2023. For the previous 5 years, the company has been dealing with an unhealthy quick ratio, and then for FNN it begins at 1.343 in 2019, climb at 1.46 in 2022 and then increase once more to 1.64 in 2021 and then decreased to 1.32 in 2022 and then increased to 1.94 in 2023. This trend continued. Over the last 5 years, the business has maintained a healthy quick ratio. To To sum up, when compared to Nestle, FNN still has the strong liquidity ratio. In a company, having a high quick ratio has its benefits, but it can also have disadvantages as well. On the other hand, an excessively high quick ratio could mean that a company is not making the best use of its funds, making it excessively liquid in the near run. So when a company quick ratio is greater than 1, it indicates that it has sufficient cash and cash equivalent to pay off any debt that may become due in the next year or so. So which is why FNN has a higher quick ratio than Nestle. Nestle has relatively low quick ratio, so they must keep an eye on it and develop an effective strategy of action to maintain a good balance between liquidity.
The next part is debt ratio, and the formula is total liabilities divided by total assets and multiplied with 100%. In the response to the graph, in 2019, Nestle debt ratio started with a low amount, which was 0.37, and increased to 0.47 in 2020. Then in 2021, it decreased to 0.41 and increased back to 0.67 in 2022, and successfully decreased to 0.58 in 2023. This implies a more balanced capital structure, reflecting a positive shift in the company's financing approach. The debt ratio for FNN began at 0.04 in 2019 and dropped dramatically to 0.00 in 2020 before rising to 0.02 in 2021. The debt ratio went up to 0.09 in 2022 and then back to 0.24 in 2023. This indicates that a ratio of 50% or less is normal, while a ratio of 30% or more is cause for concern. In conclusion, FNN is better than the debt ratio because it has a lower debt ratio than Nestle. A low debt ratio indicates that the company has enough assets to cover its obligations. Debt ratios of 0.4 or lower are considered better from a pure risk perspective, while debt ratios of 0.6 or higher make borrowing money more challenging. Nestle debt ratio is still lower than FNN, but FNN debt ratio over the past few years has been more impressive. So the next part is debt to equity ratio, and the formula is long-term debt divided by equity and multiplied with 100%. As shown by the graph, the debt to equity ratio for Nestle began at a low level 4.10 in 2019 and increased to 5.14 in 2020. But in 2021, the debt to equity ratio dropped to 5.12. Then it increased to 5.67 in 2022 before falling back to 5.06 in 2023. The fluctuation in debt to equity ratio shows a higher debt to equity ratio suggests an unhealthier financial position and can cause financial risk for the company. For FNN, in the meantime, the debt to equity ratio began at 1.39 in 2019 and fell to 1.31 in 2020. After that, it fell to 1.29 once more in 2021, went up to 1.41 once more in 2022, and then increased to 1.63 in 2023. This indicates that its debt to equity ratio is unhealthy. Furthermore, a risky debt to equity ratio is higher than 2.0, whereas a healthy ratio is less than 1.0. Overall, the data indicates that Nestle's low performance can be attributed to a higher debt to equity ratio compared to FNN, the Nestle company with default on the debt because it's unable to make the required payments. Furthermore, a risky debt to equity ratio is higher than 2.0, whereas a healthy ratio is less than 1.0.
Now I'll be explaining about net profit margin. Net profit margin formula is net profit after taxes divided into net sale. The net profit margin for Nestle and FNN is displayed in the graph below. The net profit margin of Nestle started at 12.19 in 2019, decreased to 10.21 in 2020, and dropped to 9.94 in 2021. Nestle still does not show any improvement for the next year when the net profit still decreased to 9.31 in 2022 and decreased to 9.19 in 2023. This unhealthy trend in net profit margin shows that Nestle is financially weaker than its peers. For FNN, the profit margin started at 10.06 in 2019, increased to 10.29 in 2020, declined to 9.51 in 2021, then dropped once to 8.57 in 2022, then eventually increased to 10.18 in 2023. This indicates that FNN has increased annually with the net profit margin and has continued to be healthy for over 5 years. To sum up, FNN exhibits a higher net profit margin than NESTLE, allowing a determined company to calculate the after-tax per ringgit and obtain higher return, a sign of strong performance. NESTLE needs to find an effective cost structure and focus on the pricing strategy. Now I will be explaining about operating profit margin. The formula of it is earning before interest tax divided into net sales times 100%. Based on the graph below, which display NESTLE and FNN's operating profit margin results, NESTLE had a healthy operating margin of 16.53 in 2019, but by 2020, it had dropped to 13.96. NESTLE recorded 13.70 in 2021, then dropped to 13.55 in 2022 and 13.45 in 2023. The trend of operating profit margin has been variable but generally steady. This shows efficient operation and good cost control. Operating profit for FNN starts at 12.64 in 2019 and drops to 12.57 in 2020. It then dropped to 11.73 in 2021 and drops again to 10.07 in 2023. Eventually, it will rise to 12.22 in 2023. The operating margin has shown an unhealthy and unstable flow that has been decreasing from the year 2019 to 2023. In conclusion, when compared to FNN, NESTLE has a higher operating profit margin, which allows the company to assess the productivity of its asset by giving returns to both creditor and investor. Taking into account that FNN has a lower operating profit margin, we can conclude that this suggests either too high operating costs, too high non-operating costs, or both. Moving on to the next point, which is return on asset, and the formula for it is net profit after taxes divided to total asset times 100%. The graph below shows that NESTLE's return on asset dropped from 24.15 in 2019 to 19.78 in 2020. In 2021, the amount return on asset is 19.49, which decreased from the previous year and continuing to drop to 18.97 in 2022 and decreased to 18.34 in 2023. Even though the return on asset is fluctuating, it remained above 18%, indicating effective utilization of asset to generate returns. In contrast, FNN's return on asset began at 11.98 in 2019 and steadily decreased to 11.69, 11.05 and 9.80 by the year 2020, 2021 and 2022. Finally, by the year of 2023, it increased to 11.26 and the asset return of FNN is lower. A declining return on asset could be a sign that the business overinvested in asset that did not increase revenue. To conclude, NESTLE has a higher return on asset whereby the firm can measure the overall return on all in its asset investment compared to FNN. FNN has a lesser asset return. It's not always good or bad to have a low total debt to total asset ratio. It simply means that rather than taking out bank loans, the FNN has chosen to focus on raising capital through the insurance of stock to investors.
Continued turnover ratio for FNN began to decline in 2019 and continued to do so through 2023 as shown by the graph above. From 5.29 in 2019 to 4.47 in 2021 and then back to 4.46 in 2021, the inventory turnover was decreasing. 2022 and 2023 also saw a decline, falling to 4.22 and 4.34 after that year. This provides a suggestion for increasing inventory management and sales efficiency. The inventory turnover for Nestle in 2019 was 6.37, which was the unhealthy rate of inventory turnover in that year. In the past 5 years, the trend was decreasing in 2020 when the rate of inventory turnover was 6.00 and further decreasing for the next year, which was the recorded rate was 5.63 in 2021. The inventory turnover for the Nestle showed improvement for the next 2 years, which still decreased to 4.95 in 2022 and 4.84, which was the unhealthy rate in 2023. This indicates that Nestle has better efficiency in managing and selling inventory. Ultimately, it has been highlighted by the graph that the potential generate operational challenges for Nestle as it experienced a consistent decline, and FNL, however, managed to barely rise and stabilize its inventory turnover, but they are still in the unhealthy range of inventory turnover ratio. For most industry, the ideal inventory turnover ratio will be between 5 and 10. This lower ratio may be due to changes in demand and production inefficiency or inventory mismanagement. Thus, Nestle and FNN need to have closer examination of their inventory management practices to investigate its inefficiencies. Based on the graph above, the fixed asset turnover in Nestle has shown fluctuating trend from 2019 to 2023. In 2019, the ratio was 3.63, and while in 2020, the fixed asset rate turnover decreases to 3.39 and then dropped to 3.37 in 2021, which was the lowest rate in the past 5 years. However, there was a significant improvement in the fixed asset turnover in 2022, when it increases to 3.37. In 2023, fixed asset turnover for Nestle recorded the highest rate, which is the 3.89. Fixed asset turnover remains relatively stable, indicating that consistent efficiencies in using fixed asset to generate revenue. FNN's fixed asset turnover, however, started at 3.11 in 2019 and then began to gradually decline, with fixed asset turnover of 2.86 in 2020, and then next fell to 2.81 in 2021 and then increases to 2.90 in 2022 before dropping once more to 2.83 in 2023. Fixed asset turnover slowly shows instability, indicating that there is inconsistent efficiencies in using fixed asset to generate revenue. In short, the line above highlights how Nestle outperforms FNN in terms of effectively utilizing fixed asset to generate income. Nestle's steady growth is an evidence of ongoing attempts to maximize the use of its fixed asset. FNN, on the other hand, experienced lower fixed asset turnover in comparison to Nestle FNN. FNN have few variation in the last few years, but still managed to keep it stabilized. In retail sector, an asset turnover ratio of 2.5 or more is generally considered good. So both companies demonstrate healthy and stable fixed asset ratios. Regarding the given graph, the total asset turnover for Nestle had shown fluctuating trends over the years. In 2019, the total asset turnover was 1.98 and then decreases to 1.94. Then there was a slight improvement in 2021, which was 1.96 and increases to the highest rate over the year in 2022, which was 2.04. Unfortunately, they can either maintain or improve to the higher rate in 2023, and the total asset turnover decreases to 2.00. For FNN, the total asset turnover began at 1.19 in 2019 and then fell to 1.14 in 2022. However, it began to grow more in 2021 and 2022, where the values are 1.16 and 1.41 respectively, before declining again to 1.11 in 2023. Total asset turnover remained relatively consistent, suggesting a sustained ability to generate revenue relative to total assets. In general, the chart above illustrates Nestle maintain higher and more consistently improving efficiency and utilizing assets to generate revenue compared to FNN. Nestle increasing trend indicates sustained effort of the company in increasing good use of the asset, and a good total asset turnover ratio varies depending on the industry. When the asset turnover ratio is more than 1, it indicates that the business is making full use of its own resource in order to produce more sales and revenue. Hence, Nestle is better than FNN in terms of total asset turnover.
To conclude, the ratio analysis plays a very crucial in determining a company financial performance. So, ratio analysis examines line item data from the financial account of a corporation to provide information about activity, profitability, liquidity, and operational effectiveness. We can compare a company to another in same industry or sector and illustrate how company performs over time by using ratio analysis. So from this assignment, it is shown that FNN exhibits very excellent liquidity and a sustainable debt structure which support a solid financial position. In terms of profitability, Nestle perform more effectively, which also support a relatively strong financial position. This project has helped us to highlight the significant role ratio analysis has played in analyzing corporate financial performance between Nestle Malaysia Berhad and also Fraser and Nave Holdings Berhad. That's all from us. Thank you.